The other questions I have. Well, where can you? I watched your last WoW video on your main channel about what was it?
Which one?
Azeroth. I watched Azeroth's Darkness and the one zombie, but
Yes.
I would rather stick to the Azeroth's Darkness.
Yes.
And you were again talking about the seventh force, the hidden seventh force. Maybe
Yeah.
Azeroth might be this. And if you could do me a small favor, could you pull up the Sylvanas Warbringer cinematic and pause it at 45 seconds?
Yeah.
Would you do that for me?
Yeah. At 45 seconds.
45 seconds in, yes, please.
All right. Let's do a screen share.
Where Sylvanas is kneeling in front of the Night Elf.
Yeah. We're at 47, but okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I think the Sylvanas Warbringer cinematic is the most important, one of the most important cinematics we have ever had in the game, and everything up, nothing was as it was before. That cinematic, anything that came after has changed dramatically. The whole lore, Afrasiabi left, all the things that happened at Blizzard.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to talk about was Sylvanas as Azeroth as the seventh force, and for me, I think Sylvanas is her champion, and that's because of symbolism. You talked about it a lot. Nothing in these videos happens by accident. Everything is planned. Every cough, every sigh, or whatever happens in these videos has its purpose. And if you see this scene, the night elf that is kneeling in front of her, if you count the arrows in her back, she has 5 arrows in her back.
Yeah.
And Sylvanas in her quiver, in the scene before you can count them, she has 7 arrows in her quiver.
Yeah.
And to me, this scene symbolizes everything that's what is happening in the grand scale, of the WoW universe.
Okay.
In the cinematic, the Night Elf is presented as the last survivor of the assault of Teldrassil.
Yeah.
But what I see is that someone or something took control of a dead body. For example, you could call it the force of death. And in the back of death, you have 5 arrows symbolizing the 5 other cosmic forces in the back of the force of death. And across or opposing it is Sylvanas with 7 arrows in her quiver, symbolizing Azeroth. You know what I mean? I think that scene tells so much about the story of the lore of World of Warcraft and the current state of the cosmic forces in WoW.
All right. So I see. Valerio saying it seems a bit far-fetched. Valerio, that's the beauty of speculation. We live in the far-fetched, right? Because you never know. Right? You never know. It could be. I will give you another bit of this theory that could absolutely sort of corroborate what you said. In Before the Storm, Sylvanas speaks to Nathanos. She tells him to get the war chest ready and all the rest of it. But we also see a scene in which Sylvanas is with Gallywix. And Gallywix gives Sylvanas a piece of Azerite. Now remember, Azerite is the blood of Azeroth. Sylvanas and Anduin touches the Azerite, and both have a vision of the future. To Sylvanas' vision, and we don't get the full visions, we get glimpses of the visions. Sylvanas' vision shows her the ruler of all. Right? So she is shown as the queen of Azeroth. Anduin's vision shows him as the peacemaker, the one that will bring peace between the Horde and the Alliance, peace to Azeroth. So a uniting force for Azeroth.
Yes. Yes.
Now, we know that the story have had a marked change from when Alex Frigiabi left this scene, specifically because this scene was very heavily influenced by Frigiabi and the end of Shadowlands. But there is a very reasonable chance that the origins of this story was supposed to play out this way. It was supposed to be that together, Sylvanas and Anduin was going to bring Azeroth in line. And when I say Azeroth, I don't mean the planet. I mean us, the beings of Azeroth, in line. Now, this goes into another question that I was asked a few weeks back, where someone asked me, what do I think the chances are of World of Warcraft ever being turned into a Warhammer 40k-esque kind of universe? That can only happen through a united Azeroth. So if you have an Azeroth, which we are the force of Azeroth, and we face the forces of the cosmos together, and not just the cosmos, the great beyond. So we face down other planets, maybe conquer other planets in the name of Azeroth. We conquer the first ones eventually in the name of Azeroth. That could have happened. I'm not sure what the end goal now is for Denuser and the team. So that I can't say, because I don't know if Denuser is still sticking to this story in any meaningful way. But I love the symbolism that you draw from here. And again, I sort of want to highlight this for anyone that might be saying, but Accolonn, far-fetched or whatever the case might be. I've spoken to the literal man that makes these cinematics. So I had myself and some of the mods had the opportunity to sit in Discord, and this wasn't an interview. This wasn't a sort of, we had an X number of questions that we were allowed to ask. We were in Discord with Terran for probably 4 hours. I think twice, actually, on 2 different occasions. We were hanging out with Terran, just chatting. Now, Terran is a master at not spoiling shit. Like, he will just not tell you anything. But, Terran, we were hanging out and we were chatting. And we were asking him questions about the cinematics and how do they make the cinematics. And as it turns out, every single scene, everything from the colors that's used to the lights that's used to the lines that's used to every single thing is done on purpose. He said, there's not a single thing that goes into a cinematic in World of Warcraft that wasn't designed to be there. Like, they don't do just throwaway assets to just fill up the scene. Never. If there's something in the scene, it's there for a reason. They want it to be there. Now, you could make the argument, well, they just needed arrows in the back and arrows in the quiver, and they didn't really care about the exact number, and that is entirely possible. It's entirely plausible. 1 arrow wouldn't have seemed as dramatic as 5, right? Obviously. And it could be that it's an accident that it's 7. But it is also interesting that 5 and 7 are important numbers in World of Warcraft, especially if you go, there's 5 arrows in the back of 1, which, if my speculation is correct, death have been subjugated by the other cosmological forces.
Correct.
I believe that death have been conquered by the other cosmological forces. This would signify that, right? You have 5 cosmological forces that teamed up against death, took it down. The 7 arrows in Sylvanas' quiver could absolutely signify this 7th force. And again, from my speculation, Azeroth would be the 7th force, something outside, but also part of everything, but also the leader of everything, so to speak. It's a good catch, bro. I really fucking love that.
Also, the words matter. If you remember, it begins with Sylvanas saying, take the tree. No one was talking about burning the tree. All that the Night Elf did in the whole cinematic was to push and trigger Sylvanas as much as she could to burn the tree. to wipe it out. That was the Night Elf's job. That was why she was, in my understanding, she was revived. I don't believe she was a survivor at all. I think her purpose was to trigger Sylvanas into set Teldrassil ablaze and kill everything, because the force behind the Night Elf wanted all the souls, as you know, from Teldrassil go directly to what is it called? What's called the tree in the Shadowlands?
Yeah, Autumnwield.
Yeah, exactly. Because they didn't know what was really going on in Shadowlands, but Ardenweald needed the souls, so on and so forth. But all the Night Elf did was, and that's a war you can never win, blah, blah, blah. All the dialogue between these two characters was set up to trigger Sylvanas into burning the tree. That's my interpretation. It's my interpretation of the whole scene. And yes, of course, I'm just speculating as everyone else. But from my understanding, the early dev team in World of Warcraft, as I said to you now, the third time, was very close to classic Greek mythology. And for me, it is pretty clear that Sylvanas is the hero, so to speak, of Azeroth. And her job is, or she is in line with Azeroth. She should set her free, and that was her job. And that was the greatest story until Afrasiabi left the building, so to speak.
Yeah. Joshua actually just made another great point here. Elune told her sister, I sent those souls towards you, right? Because Elune didn't know that those souls wouldn't end up there. So just further making your point there. But yeah, speculation is all about this. I've made entire videos on this. The whole point is to look for truth wherever we can find it. And sometimes we sound like Alex Jones. And other times we sound like the Holy Prophet, right? It really depends on who's listening at the time, and then also what Blizzard does after. So this is why whenever I get it wrong, whenever I get it wrong, I don't speak of it again. But if I get it right, my videos usually start with, I fucking told you guys, right? No, you get it wrong, you get it right. I would say my hit rating right now on right and wrong would be probably about 30% of everything that I predict does happen. I wish I could say 50-50, but it really isn't 50-50. I think about 30% of my theories have turned out to be correct to some extent. Wholly correct theories. These would be closer to probably 10-15% if I were to sort of just guess, like a guesstimate on it. Still, it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. Pilot, that is also true.
And it's especially difficult now because the whole team changed. Nobody knows what kind of style they're using, where they're going,
Yeah.
There was a clear style until then. And now everything, we can go down more this Marvel universe, what we had with, what is it called?
With Shadowlands.
The Shadowlands. Yeah, the Shadowlands style with the power fist. I haven't watched any of the Marvel comics or read any of the. I don't even know, but it clearly went down that line, stylistically.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it feels like the modern day writers, Steve Denuser and the team, they're much more tropey. So they love the sort of they like the modern day tropes. They like the fantasy tropes, the superhero tropes, which is why a lot of the modern story in World of Warcraft is very tropey. You can find it in the MCU, and you can find it in different animes and stuff like that, because it's the tropes that they probably like most. They enjoy those tropes. Steve Denuser have said, he's gone on record as saying that he loves the new Star Wars films. And he is a massive fan of the final season for Game of Thrones. Like he thought the final season for Game of Thrones was really well done. Now, different strokes for different folks, right? I'm not going to judge anyone on what they like or dislike, but it does show that he does enjoy the more mainstream Hollywood modern tropes, what I would call the predictable tropes. The the tropes that, yes, it's probably not as popular with as many people, but I like the tropes where almost no one wins. You know, those tropes that leave you a little bit empty on the inside.
Yeah, and where it's not as black and white, you know, because it's just not how life is, you know.
Yes, I prefer the tropes that make you go, that could go either way.
I still cringe every time you bring up the fact that Danuser liked Game of Thrones Season 8.
Dude, I almost fell off my fucking chair when I saw that tweet. Like, he thought it was good. He thought it was a decent ending. Now, obviously, it's Twitter, so maybe he does have actual criticisms, but he thinks overall it wasn't a bad ending. You know, so obviously you would have to sit down and speak to him to actually get a decent amount of, or a decent idea of where he falls exactly. But anyways, we have other people waiting to ask questions. Brock, I really appreciate the questions, bro, as always. Thank you so much for making me think and making me wonder. I really appreciate that.